Roy, our viewers are putting you on the spot. They've been putting their Twitter questions in. How about this? Who would be your ideal central midfield partner from any era?
From any era? Well, I suppose everyone remembers my time at United with Scholesy. I think me and Scholesy had kind of good chemistry, although I played with, obviously, Paul McGrath with Ireland, Andy Townsend, really good players. Butty was a brilliant player. Ince was a top player. But if I had to pick anyone, it'd probably be Scholesy, because we had kind of good balance about us. And you're on about defining your role, Jamie. People say to me, you know, how did you play? How did you decide who was, you know, if Scholesy went forward, I would sit. And if he would sit. Very, very straightforward. And obviously at United, we always played with two strikers. So that was our chemistry. And the same with Nicky. That's just a bit of chemistry with somebody, a bit of communication. So if I had to pick somebody, and because, again, Scholesy was a great boy to get a goal, I always enjoyed playing with Scholesy. But I haven't said that. Ince was a brilliant player. I played with Robbo towards the end of his career. Butty, Varane. Yeah, very lucky. Brilliant players. Do you think then, there's another question coming in, do you think the role of a midfielder has changed since your playing days? Possibly so. Possibly so. I think there's less demands on midfielders now. I think. Why do you think that is then? I'm not sure. I think maybe they're all getting overcoached, or they're getting too many instructions. All the lessons I've learned, as much as I played under some brilliant managers, some of my best lessons were learning off my teammates, or when you start playing against real top players. For example, when we were at United and we were doing really well, and you kind of think, yeah, I'm not a bad player. Then you come up against Barcelona, Bayern Munich, you think, I've got a bit to go yet here. You know, these boys, you got more lessons almost from the opposition or your own teammates. But we were expected to make tackles to get back. You were expected to get forward. You were expected to cover for your mates. Whereas now everyone seems to have, like, I've just got this role, and I've got. No, you're supposed to do a combination of lots of things.
Do you think the quality of midfielders in Wales football now has dropped from 10 or 15 years ago? I think of Man United now. You look at no midfield. Arsenal the same. Probably Liverpool. You probably look at that area of the team that you think could be improved. Barcelona's midfield's not the same as was in the past. Real Madrid, Bayern Munich. You think of the great midfield players in your era. Never mind. Just in the Premier League, there's some great ones. Who do you think are the great midfield players out there, and is there a dearth of them?
Well, the fact nobody springs to mind. Nobody really springs to mind. I'm sure we can analyse it. You maybe throw a player at me, and I go,
Kante.
Yeah, good player. We saw Pogba tonight. Pogba, if you'd asked me a year or two ago, you think, Pogba, what a player, big player come to you. You saw Pogba tonight. Pogba was shocking. Times he gave the ball away cheaply. I know Gary made a point recently about when we were at United, if the player gave the ball away cheaply, it's like criminal.
I'll give you a couple more.
When I see the boys giving the ball away, no, it's just, go ahead.
David Silva, Kevin De Bruyne.
But
they're not. I think the point.
Are they central midfielders? Are they central midfielders?
They're playing as eight.
I think the ones.
No, these are fantastic players. But do you class them as more attacking players?
Doesn't go back to the role being changed then?
Yeah.
Well, maybe. I mean, I think the fella at Paris Saint-Germain, Verratti. I think De Jong, who's gone to Barcelona, looks like he could be the next one, the Dutch lad. But there's not the way it was with you, where you have Xavi and Iniesta, you'd have Pirlo, you'd have Gerrard, Lampard, Scholes, you, Patrick Vieira.
But even all them ones, Jamie, but even in the Premiership, every time you played in the Premiership years ago, remember you'd be like David Batty and these players. Yeah. Rob Lee would always give you a hard game. Gary Speed, God rest his soul. Yeah. These were brilliant players, honestly. They'd always give you a tough game. OK, they probably didn't have the headline name of a Vieira or all these boys or the lads you've just mentioned. But every week I felt in the Premiership or obviously the old First Division, you were always up against somebody very, very good.
Ones? We talked about Vieira earlier. Who else did you?
Well, the lads
was a real
just mentioned. Batty, Rob Lee, Gary Speed. Gary Speed was a tough player to go up against. And again, Gary was pretty nasty. You know, Batty was nasty. I always felt these boys. You know, people always remember me kind of kicking people. A lot of these guys were kicking me. You know, I was just retaliating over the years. That's all.
You sound like Graham Souness.
Yeah, it's the only defence I've got. But yeah.
What about in Europe?
Oh, listen, then I suppose the toughest player I played against, of course, would have been Zidane. And he was that. He did play in a two midfield, but a good boy to get a goal. And what you say about Zidane against 6'1", 6'2", and he was nasty, very, very nasty.
He was obviously the best player in the world at his time. I was just thinking of the years you played at Manchester United. Who would you say was the world-class players you played? You know, where's your bar on world-class? Who would you say the world-class players you played with at Manchester United? Who would fall in that?
Well, we never gave ourselves an opportunity to talk about players being world-class, because I always felt that we went down that road, we'd be we would be getting ahead of ourselves. If I look back now, I think Giggsy, you'd have to class Giggsy. And I always class the world-class players, lads who've do it for 9, 10, 11. Obviously, Giggsy's done it for a lot longer. To me, that's the key to being a really good player. You've got to be consistent. We see players here, they have a good month and they're patting themselves on the back. It's to be good week in, week out for years and years. And Giggsy would have been a prime example. Listen, Mark Hughes is a brilliant striker. I think Eric was a brilliant player. I know people say, well, Eric didn't do it at this stage and that stage and international level, but a brilliant player to play with. Scholesy was brilliant. Dennis Irwin was, my God, Dennis. Imagine if Dennis was playing now. Play right back, left back, get your goal, to defend, was never injured. Brilliant guy in the dressing room. No, Dennis would be world class to me. And he's a Cork man.
and your former roommate, I understand, as well.